Come take a look at the newest White Dwarf featuring the Burning of Prospero. Spiky bits.
Make sure you stay in the trenches by becoming a supporter over on Patreon and also scoring yourself some free miniature swag in the process. Subscribe to this YouTube channel. Check out our site, spikybits.com, for all the hot hobby tutorials, news, rumors on all your favorite hobby topics. And head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. Rob Baer here again today on a fantastic November, well actually it's October, weekend. So Burning of Prospero is out, of course, this weekend. It's the big release. Everybody's loving it, and the miniatures are so much better than anything we've seen previously released by Games Workshop before. I think it's pretty safe to say, if you haven't gotten your copy yet, please, when you get it, take a closer look at all the fine rivets, the fine detailing, the multi-partness of all the kits. Like, it really is some of the best miniatures we've seen from them. At least I feel that way. Anyhow, this is more about the White Dwarf itself, this being the third issue, or I guess redo of the White Dwarf into a monthly format. Of course, they're starting to get their sea legs under them, starting to do all this stuff, got new features. They're kicking off with the Age of Sigmar feature in this one, which I thought was really great. So first off, it's a 150-page book. They've got, some new staff on board here. New editor, Jess, is doing other things now. But that being said, it doesn't seem like the White Dwarf lost a step or anything. He laid down a great foundation, great blueprint, I guess, for success for the new monthly mag here. Now, of course, everything in yellow is like the basic features, stuff we're going to take a look at. Of course, I love hitting the paint splatters and things. But basically, it's a 150-page book. It culminates in the return of, in the bunker, where they can kind of slap something in here last minute. More kind of recent events, because they do these things like a couple months out, so they can slap this in here and kind of be a little bit more recent. But, for this particular one, there really wasn't anything specific to see, I guess, right here in this one. Now, if you look over here, you can see a preview for something that might be Blood Bowl coming out. If they're doing a preview on Blood Bowl, it might be releasing this month. That's what a lot of people are saying. That's what we're hearing. Supposedly there's going to be some big Black Friday holiday kind of sale thing. We don't know what it is, but it'd be really cool if Blood Bowl did come out. They're definitely pushing it hard. There's a whole full-page ad in here as well. So as far as features go, like I said, we got this new Age of Sigmar General's Almanac kind of feature, which I thought was great. Another great battle report, the Border War, which of course is a mission and pitch battle format for Age of Sigmar, which I feel is great. There's something for the first time we saw it here. They made more of a big deal about the rules, new rules actually being in the White Dwarf, kind of like the days of old with the chapter approved stuff. You would have rules in the White Dwarf, which I thought was pretty good. And then some great features in the back here on spruce and glue and paint splatter. Another great heavy metal masterclass article as well. So let's jump to some of the features here. Of course, you got the in-stores now feature in the Planet Warhammer section, which has been thoroughly spoiled by everybody that got the White Dwarf already in Europe, I suppose. You've got new features coming out, or new products coming out, the new supplement, and nobody knows exactly how much it will be, what will be in it, or when it's even going to be released, but they put it in here. So I'd imagine it's coming out in November if I was a betting man, which sometimes I feel like I am. Of course, Prospero Burns, the big release this week. Then you've got the Artificer Tint set, which is coming out next week, and 6 Warhammer heroes from the Warhammer Quest in Silver Tower that are also releasing separately as clan pack form, I think for $25 each. So a lot of stuff. Oh, and the new terrain piece, the Hamatom reactors that are coming out. Now, if you are an Age of Sigmar fan, and I've been playing more and more of it, because let's face it, it's a little simpler. I don't have to do as much legwork to get a game of Age of Sigmar in. The Mage Wrath Throne and Battlewind Vortex are two great pieces of terrain. If you have a caster in your army, you should probably have this, because it's free. He summons it, he stands on top of it. He basically can't be reached until he dismisses it. It doubles his range of his spells. I feel like it's a solid piece to have for $15. The Mage Wrath Throne is still pretty good, but you have to watch where you position it on the table. You can't just summon it and kind of throw it away. So it's one of those type deals, but it is still probably worth taking maybe. It just kind of depends on what your army does and how you feel about it. But if you see it on the tabletop, anybody can basically jump in the throne there and reap the benefits of its rewards, so to speak. So those, I think, for the most part, are all the new releases coming out. Yeah, it looks like it. There's that full-page ad for Blood Bowl, which I thought was great, because we loved. This is the old Inferno magazine. I don't know if y'all remember that. They did a lot of, and they had like Blood Bowl supplements, I think, in the journal, where Jim and Bob basically would always do this kind of like shtick back and forth, kind of like John Madden, Pat Summerall kind of type deal. It was, it was cheesy, but it was cool, because that's what Blood Bowl's all about. I feel like just kind of like in your face, rock'em sock'em. Doesn't matter if it's cheesy, doesn't matter if it's in your face, but they're just gonna get in your face and smash. So let's take a look at some of the features I wanted to talk about. I want to show you everything. There is a feature in here on the Warhammer Total War game where they pit some of the developers and Battle of the Bickhams. I think that's how you say it, Bickhams. Sorry if I'm slaughtering your name there, but I thought that was pretty neat. Of course, developing the White Dwarf as well. A new Hall of Fame introduction, the Land Raider from 1999. Which was sculpted by Jess, an amazing sculptor that pretty much laid the groundwork for how everything looks, Space Marine wise, I guess Eldar wise too, for the most part. Then we've got The World in Flames, where they basically talk a lot about the new Prospero, or Burning of Prospero box set. Lots of different things about all of that. And there was even yet more, some stuff in here about the Dark Hill that isn't too important, but it does figure into the kind of end times type stuff that might be happening soon. There is a really cool centerfold army in this particular issue that even includes a Thunderhawk right there for the Blood Ravens. Pretty nifty. I won't spoil that all, but yeah, you definitely want to read the article on that one. That was some of my favorites. The battle report was also pretty good, but I'm looking for the almanac. Here it is. So they basically talk about a lot of stuff to do with competitive play versus the casual narrative kind of play, which is kind of a hallmark of Age of Sigmar. And I really like this quote here. It's a mental agility game. When you're constantly trying to outfox, outmaneuver, and outguess each other, that's what I love about Age of Sigmar. Now, it probably doesn't help that sometimes you can go back-to-back double turns, but being, a good general, maybe you could factor that into your battle plans. Like, hey, not only do I have to plan for what happens next turn if I don't get my normal turn sequence. So there's a lot to that too, and a lot of people sometimes plan, hey, if you win off, or I guess if you deploy all of your models first, you get to choose who goes first or second. A lot of players like to go second to try to get that jump on the turn two, the top of turn two, and going back to back and being able to just like slam into somebody's army. So as a general, I feel like you got to look out for those sorts of things. So then they talk about army building. They talk a little bit about just kind of the overall stuff there, and then it gets into the Border War battle report, which basically is just a continuation of the same article for the most part. Okay. So they broke it up into two different sections there, and this is it's a 3,000 point game, which I liked. It's Destruction versus Stormcast, so I guess Order, and it's a really big game, and they show you basically using two pieces of terrain, which are about to be re-released as well, so it's almost like they knew this was going to happen. So it's very in-depth. I'm not going to get too into it, but definitely check it out. There's a feature in here on Armies on Parade, because that just happened last weekend on the 15th. And then it gets into some more showcase stuff, but what I wanted to talk about also was the new rules section. So there's a rules section in here, and they're very, very much all about it. New rules. So they give you the rules for Custodes and Horus Heresy, aka the Age of Darkness, 30K, whatever you want to call it. They also indicate that the Sisters will be in the next White Dwarf. So the Sisters of Silence rules, very similar, will also be in the next White Dwarf, so you can play them as well. Of course, I imagine all that stuff will be in the Inferno, Horus Heresy Book 7 when that releases from Forge World, which traditionally they've always put out a new supplement in November since 2012. So I expect to see the same thing this year, but maybe not. They don't have to, but I imagine, their sales forecasting and things kind of go along with that. And then if you got the new Lord Veritant War Scroll that came out last week, For Burning of Prospero, you can play with the Contemptor Dreadnought. They give you the options there and a little scenario as well. So lots of cool stuff going back and forth. Spruce and Glue was kind of, it was a decent issue. It talks about like rebasing your miniatures, which we just actually put out I don't think it went live on YouTube yet, but how to rebase your miniatures from square to 32mm round, which is very similar to this. Of course, I didn't show you the part about, taking your actual models off of their square bases. Generally, you just take a X-Acto blade and you can slice right down unless they are sandwiched into the base via the slotting mechanism from back in the day, I suppose. But that being said, just use some common sense there, of course. So they explain all that. The paint splatter article has a lot to do with the texture paints, okay? So I'm really digging these texture paints. I haven't used the new ones, the super chunky versus the creamy. I did pick up the snow, which is basically, I guess you haven't seen my snow tutorial yet, but I finished my Ogors, and I did snow base, like how to make their snowy kind of rocky cliff bases. And one of the things you're gonna see in it is you mix a lot of snow flock in with Elmer's glue, Elmer's PVA glue, mix it up into a paste, put it on your base itself, right? And then sprinkle a little bit more on top of the flock to give it that crunchy kind of textury appearance. The Games Workshop snow, the new stuff, is basically snow flock mixed with Elmer's glue, PVA glue as well, which I thought was hilarious. As soon as I popped the top, I was like, oh, I know exactly what this is. This is exactly how I already pre-mixed for me. Okay, that's cool. I mean, I would prefer to mix it myself because you get a lot more material when trying to base a whole army. But just a heads up there. It's still pretty good if you just want to mess around with it and try it out. But I feel like you could just buy some flock and buy some glue and make your own there. So here's the basing cookbook on some of the new recipes for the new textures, both chunky and creamy versions. And I think it's a great resource. There is also and there's some of the snow right there, which you can tell it's a chunkier version. It's just Elmer's PVA with Elmer's glue or PVA glue, whatever you want to call it, with some flock in it. A great issue on bases. Some more information on the tint set, and I thought there was a paint splatter in here. Oh yeah, that's right. It's a heavy metal masterclass on doing capes. Another really great paint feature in here. So this week we see two great supplements, or I guess products, coming out with the White Dwarf, of course, and also the Burning of Prospero paint guide. I feel like if you've only got $10 extra floating in your pocket this month, you might want to pick up the Burning of Prospero paint guide. You can check out that review here on the channel as well, because I feel like overall this is probably a better value than this one here. Now, White Dwarf is great, don't get me wrong, but you never know how long these things are out for, and this literally is good for any Legion Space Marine player out there. So it's really applicable to a lot more players out there this go around as a paint guide than opposed to some of those other paint guides out there. And I feel like for $10, this is probably a better value. But if you got $10 and you're dedicated to White Dwarf, this isn't a bad issue as well. So that's it for this one. Errors, omissions, clarifications, please leave your comments below, and we will get to them as soon as we can.
Deleted scenes, bonus content, and all the interviews and post-game wrap-up videos can be located in the Hall of Veterans on thelongwar.net. Visit thelongwar.net today and try a week completely free with no strings attached. That's not all. Thelongwar.net is also your hobby resource for exclusive early access with an ad-free experience to all your favorite videos. Members of the Hall of Veterans gain early exclusive access to multiple hobby videos.